I'm going to show you how to make this leaf dish at home using air dry clay. Air dry clay is very easy to find and use. It does not require a kiln like ceramics, it just dries. You will also need some regular watercolor paint. You may already have some at home. You will also need some of this brush-on glaze that will add shine and seal the piece. You will also need, of course, a leaf and a basic kitchen rolling pin and some other household tools. You'll also need a round surface like this beach rock that'll help form the shape of your leaf dish. Now, you can pick any kind of leaf. I recommend one with a lot of veining and texture, like these two. They'll leave a really interesting imprint. This one is really smooth and is not going to work as well. Start off with your clay. I like to work on a silicone mat. The clay won't stick to it and it'll be easy to roll it out. Roll out the clay until it's about a 1/4 inch thick, and you want to make sure it's very even. You can flip it back and forth until you get it to the size and thickness that you like. If at any point your clay feels kind of dry or crumbly, you can add a little bit of water or even knead in a little bit of water before you start. Air dry clay is basically a paper-based dough, and it's okay to add water if you need to. And you just want to get it to the size where it's a little bit bigger than the leaf. Before rolling it in, trim the stem, because the stem, if it's too thick, it'll really leave too deep a groove in your clay. So trim it, make sure it's thin and tapered, and now you're ready to roll this into your clay and get a good impression. Hold it and roll back and forth, pressing really evenly. You don't want the leaf to lift up and move once you start. So hold it at first and then roll back and forth across it. I'm going over it really well. I want to make sure I captured all that detail. You can use a little needle tool to lift away the leaf and reveal that beautiful impression. There's a lot of detail here. This leaf, by the way, is a hydrangea leaf. Now take that same needle tool and trim out the leaf shape. I'm just going to go right along the outer edge of the leaf. And it does have some little tiny zigzags along the natural leaf, but I'm just going to create a smooth outline. So I'm just kind of going to go across that kind of serrated edge and make a smooth line. And do the other side. Go all the way around. And there you have your leaf. You can save this clay and use it again. Just place it back in a sealed plastic bag because air dry clay will dry out quickly. Lift up your leaf. And what you want to do is smooth this rough edge. You can see it's kind of rough from me cutting it. And so take your finger, make it a little damp. You can even use a small sponge. I'm just going to use my finger here and go along the edge, and you want to get it very, very smooth. So just wet it a little bit, get it very, very smooth, and get the shape exactly the way you like it. I'm going to go along this edge until I feel like it's very even and very smooth, and all that little sharp edge is gone from when I cut it. You can flip it and do the same thing on this side, on the back side. Now you're going to take that big rock, that curved shape, and you're going to drape your leaf over it so that you can get that same curve in your leaf. And here's a side view just to make it a little bit easier so you can see what I'm doing. And you're going to kind of press the leaf to follow the curve of the rock. You just want to get a nice consistent curve on this leaf. And don't worry about any little imperfections, but at this point you can kind of smooth out any little marks as well. So I'm going to go all the way around and kind of follow the curve of the rock and use it as a guide to kind of get this even curve on the leaf. Just keep going around. I put the rock on a different surface, and you can see it's easier to work here. You can turn it and spin it and see it from all different angles. And once you get it the way you like it, you're just going to leave it like this. Set it aside and just let it dry in this shape. And here we are. This is a few days later now, and you can see it's nice and hard. The clay has dried fully, and you don't really want to start the painting until the clay is hard and dry. Just leave it for a few days, especially if you live somewhere humid like I do. I'm going to use some blue, ultramarine blue watercolor paint. I'm going to add a little bit of water to dilute the paint. I want it to flow in the veins of the leaf, so I'm going to get it very, very dilute. But since this is watercolor paint, it's very strongly pigmented, so even though it's watery, there's a lot of color here. I'm using a mop brush. It will hold a lot of liquid. Mop like a mop head, M-O-P. Now add the color to the leaf, and you can see that it will flow more into the impressed pattern and really accent that beautiful texture of the leaf. I chose blue, as you can see, but you can choose any color you like. You may prefer just to paint it the same color as the leaf, choosing a beautiful green. You can combine colors. You can really choose whatever color you want. I'm going to, of course, do this blue. I think there's a lot of blue in nature, in the sky and flowers, and that's why I choose blue sometimes when I paint leaves. And once I get the color even, I'm going to leave it to dry, and at that point I'll decide if I want to add a second layer. So once you get it even, just let it dry. You can always add a second layer if you decide you want it a little bit darker. All right, so now set it aside and it'll dry. And here it is, nice and dry. I've waited a couple of days again. I want it to get completely dry, and now I'm going to put this brush on glaze from DecoArt. It's called DecoArt Triple Thick Glaze, and it goes on really smoothly and settles very well too. So it's kind of self-smoothing. You won't see the brush strokes. So using a big soft brush, and I'm just going to start coating the surface with this sealer. And this DecoArt sealer is water-based. It'll rinse easily from your brush. It's easy to apply. You just want to get a nice, even layer on. Not too thin, definitely not too thick. You don't want it pooling. And once you feel like you've gotten it nice and evenly, make sure you get the edges. Then you can just set it aside and you can see it'll just kind of finish smoothing by itself. You don't want to keep touching the surface once you've gotten an even coat on. Now I'm going to use this liquid leaf gold paint to add a gold accent along the edge of the leaf. You want to make sure your leaf is completely dry, that sealer is 100% dry before you do this step. This liquid gold leaf is solvent based, so please use with proper ventilation and follow all of the instructions on the package. I'm going to use a thin brush to drag this gold paint all along the edge in a smooth, even line. You don't have to do this step. If you don't like the gold, you can leave the leaf as is or paint a different color on the edge. I like this gold because I feel like it frames the leaf, and I also feel like it reminds me of the gold rim, the gold accents on antique tableware, antique china that you or your parents or grandparents may have in the house. So I like adding this accent, and I'm going to follow it all the way around the edge of the leaf in a smooth, thin line. This gold leaf comes in a gold color, which is warmer, and a brass version, which is a little bit of a cooler gold color. Both are very pretty. And once you're finished, you can decide if you want to do a little bit more. I'm going to add some dots along the edge and just have a little bit of fun with it. And I'm using a little ball tip stylus to just add some little sparkle to the leaf. And you can see it's finished here. This is the ceramic version. You can see that they look different. Ceramics is ceramics, and this is air dry clay, and they're both beautiful in their own way. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and let me know what else you'd like to see.